Hello, dear ones. Today is Yogananda's birthday, January 5th. This would be his 128th birthday, so it's the anniversary now of his birth. And I thought to just talk a little bit about how and why do we honor the birth of an avatar? Obviously, we honor the birth of an uncle or an aunt or a grandparent or something. But in the West, we don't so often think of honoring that birthday, on into the generations to come after someone has left this body. I don't know that I ever really knew some of my grandparents' birthdays. Aunts and uncles, not so much either. With an avatar, with a saint, one of the things that happens when we honor their birthday or when we put our consciousness into any kind of connection with their consciousness is that there's a blessing. It's almost as if we're inserting a plug into an outlet that has power that's ready to be delivered to us through whatever channel we plug in. We have one of these little cup warmers that sits on our dining room table, kitchen table, and if you put a mug of tea on there, it'll keep it warm. It's a sort of a little hot plate, little miniature hot plate, just the size of a cup. It's like 18 watts or something. As far as a stove or any kind of heating element, it's just tiny, tiny, tiny. Well, if we approach the master with a little cup warmer, then we get a cup warmer's worth of power. If we approach the master with a huge fan the size of a house or, something, if we allow more of that charge or of that current to come to us and through us, then it will. Because his power, this is one of the aspects of an avatar, is that his power is unlimited. A saint has the power to uplift his disciples, and perhaps a handful more beyond his immediate circle. But that's the extent of his power, whereas an avatar who comes into the world already free can uplift anyone. And anyone who tunes in, just as the Bible says, and Swami and Yogananda both quoted this passage many, many times. He said, "To as many as received him, to them gave he power to become the sons of God, to become the children of God." Now, we're already children of God. That's not as if we suddenly attain a status as children of God that we didn't have before. What we attain is the realization of it. We are that in truth, but we don't know it. And the only way to know it is to actually experience it. And that experience has to come through grace, has to come through the channel of one who already has it. It sort of reminds me of the kind of establishment where if you don't know somebody, you don't get in the front door. The super popular restaurant or whatever, where there's a line halfway down the block, and if you know the right code, if you know the right person, if you know which door to go to, etc., you get in, and if you don't, you don't. And the avatar, the master, is that channel through which we can receive grace in human terms. It's like he steps down the power of the infinite to the level that we can relate to it, to the level that we can receive it. So we don't get a nuclear power plant worth of power that blows our circuits to smithereens if we're not capable, if all we are at the moment is a little cup warmer size worth of capacity, then that's what he gives us. He doesn't overwhelm us. He gives us what we can handle, and perhaps a little more. Perhaps he stretches us out a little bit. But his job is just to help us. And so as we honor Yogananda's birthday, he came to show us how to live in this age, how to live in the world that's full of smartphones and internets and things that, in a sense, didn't even exist in his day, and yet you could see how they were going to exist. Now, if you look back in retrospect, well, 100 years from now, well, there'll be all kinds of things that we don't have now in existence. Then his mission will still be just as relevant in 100 years or even 1,000 years, because this is an age of energy. And he brought a message and a mission that shows us how to understand what is energy, how does it operate in my life, how can I use it, how can I understand it, and how can I act as an instrument for it, how can I live effectively in a world that is becoming conscious of energy, that is becoming aware that energy is the underlying basis of reality, that the matter that we see that makes up the floor or the chair or the walls, the sky that we see around us, that matter is energy. Our body is energy. All of that is part of the message and the mission that he brought. And so we honor his arrival in this world, but we also recognize that his mission, though in a sense was a world mission, in another sense was a human and very personal mission. So look to his presence in your heart and in your own life, because his blessing is for everyone. And his way of sharing and showering that blessing on us is to help us to look within, where we can find it all the time. In the world around us, it's always light and shadow. It's always hot and cold, night and day, summer and winter, male and female. It's always a balancing act of different elements. And in God, we see light. Let there be light. Fiat lux. The Master says, God says, let there be light, and there's light filling the whole universe. We have to look inside to find that light. But when we do, we will find it always available to us. And that's what a master brings to us, is the capacity to illuminate, to be illuminated. Guru means dispeller of darkness. And that's what Yogananda was in this world. He came to bring a light that can never be switched off. It's never dependent on anything outside. So look to his consciousness and presence within, and you will find a wellspring of blessing in your life. God and gurus bless you always.